Hey, what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab doing another Swing Smarter video. In this one, we're going to take Lou Gehrig, the Iron Horse. And one of the nicknames I saw was Biscuit Pants. I don't even want to know where that came from. But we're going to look at Lou Gehrig and we're going to compare him to Yuri, the world record holder for the hammer throw, and he's had the world record since 1986. We're going to look at the principles that are involved here in explosive rotational power, namely two things: the forward momentum aspect of forward momentum or unweighting the bat, and the other thing we're going to look at is the catapult loading system, and we're going to see how the connective tissue in our body, such as myofascia or any kind of tendon or ligament, how that resembles the springiness of a kangaroo or a bounding gazelle, where they can bound miles and miles and miles and never really get tired. So we're going to look at this catapult loading system. Let's take a look at Lou Gehrig. Now, Lou Gehrig wasn't really a big guy. Most of these older guys weren't really big guys. He was 6 foot, 205, or 200, I think, 200 pounds. Not big by today's standards, but if you look at Robbie Cano's not really a big guy for the Yankees. He's 6 foot, 205. Jose Bautista's 6 foot, 190 or 195. I think he's 190. These are smaller guys. Andrew McCutchen's 5'10", 185. These are smaller guys that do hit like big guys. And Lou Gehrig played, obviously, with Babe Ruth. But what's kind of cool with this clip is that we're going to see him with no shirt on, so we can really see the biomechanics of this. But as we look at the way Lou Gehrig swings the bat, and he's up there all time in home runs and average and on base slugging percentage. I mean, what better teammate to have to push you than Babe Ruth, right? But what you're going to see, you don't see the forward momentum here, but what you do see is the catapult loading system really working. And you're going to see him tuck his hands away from the pitcher. He's not moving his hands back. He's moving them actually behind him, so back behind him, not towards the catcher. Well, I think we see a back view, so we'll get to see that a little better. But what you see is this front shoulder. Imagine this X pattern. Let me take a step back. This X pattern on your chest and this X pattern on your back. From shoulder, connecting shoulder to opposite hip, shoulder to opposite hip, and the same on the back. What you're going to see is this front shoulder will get closer to this back hip, and the opposite happens with the other shoulder. So the back shoulder will move away from the front hip. And that's this compressing of these tension and compression forces. Your muscles, bones, and the myofascial tissue in your body. Your bones and muscles float in this myofascial tissue, and it's very tensile with collagen and elastin, but the collagen is what makes it really tensile and create pressure and tension like a spring. But what you'll see is this front shoulder moving back towards the hip, and then the back shoulder moving away from the front hip, and reverse is true on the back side. So if this back shoulder is moving away, or the back shoulder is moving away from the front hip, then on the back side, the same back shoulder will be moving closer to the other back hip. And then from there, once his foot touches the ground, he goes into a spring action. So let's see if we can get, I think we got a back view. Let's see here we go. So looking where the hands actually go, here's where we're going to see some forward momentum. Let's look at that first. So just like Babe Ruth, this was actually a clip of him and Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth had hit before him that I took from it. And you can see the Babe, he starts with a very narrow stance. The Iron Horse doesn't. He's more of a shoulder length kind of guy. Imagine that. Most of the coaches talk about spreading your feet out, being like way super wide with your feet, and staying back and just picking your foot up and putting it down. You kidding me with these super light bats? These guys were swinging 42-ounce bats. I know Babe Ruth was. Lou Gehrig, I'm sure, was somewhere in that realm as well. But what you see is they lead with that front hip. It's like they pick the front foot up, and they just kind of fall naturally forward. What that's going to do is it's going to unweight that bat. So no matter what the weight is, they were using old hickory in these days, super heavy, super dense wood. It's going to unweight that bat and allow them to be able to get that thing with a lot of mass and inertia in the impact zone and crush the ball. So then what you're going to see here is he uses similar hand position as Babe Ruth, or hand action, where he drops his hands and they flip the bat almost towards the opposite batter's box. But what you'll see is that back elbow and backside will come back away from him. He's not walking away from his hands. His hands aren't getting very far away from his body. When we walk away from our hands, it causes that front arm to stiffen. Now, so we looked at the forward momentum that the Iron Horse uses to unweight the bat, and we look at the catapult loading system that he uses this springy action, like a kangaroo, a jumping kangaroo. These internal forces within the body, the tension and compression forces, to spring his swing into action. It's not a lot of muscle activation here. He's using forward momentum. Any muscle activation that there is very minimal, especially in the arms. The arms are more the precision instruments to barrel the ball, but very, very minimal muscle activation in this movement because of the connective tissues, the myofascial springy system. So let's take a look at Yuri, our world record holding hammer thrower, and what you'll see is this hammer is, I think it's about 16 pounds, but what you're going to see is he's going to get it going at first. He's going to get it going, get the weight of the ball going overhead first, and then what you're going to see is a couple spins. Now obviously we can't do this in hitting. We can't take our eye off the target, but this is a different sport event altogether. But you're going to see the similar principles. You can see the forward momentum. He starts in the back of the circle, ends up in the front of the circle. There's your forward momentum. Okay, a lot of the weight of that ball is taking him in this movement. He's using minimal muscle to get this going. The heavier the object, the easier it makes this motion. As long as we're getting some forward momentum, you're going to see this is a little bit more close or relating to the swing, because we have both hands on the bat, whereas Yuri here has both hands on the chain to hold the hammer. But what you'll see is this catapult loading system. So here you can see this back shoulder is moving in towards this front hip. Okay, if you imagine on the front side, so this X pattern we talked about. And so if you see this shoulder moving in, then this shoulder, the back one, is moving away from this back hip, and vice versa. So if this is moving closer, or this is moving away, this is moving closer as he spins and lets go at the end here. So it's a manipulation of that close, that catapult loading system and forward momentum that Yuri uses in the hammer throw. Hope this video helps, and I will see you in the next one.